One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to crystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. Okay, y'all, it's here. BC Stack 2020 is officially open. But here's the catch. You cannot wait. This offer is only good for 1 week. And if you're like, Crystal, what are you even talking about? What is BC Stack? So this is a really cool program that I have the honor of being involved in this year. I have a brand new mini course from blog to podcast in 5 easy steps that you literally cannot get anywhere else. It is only inside BC Stack. And this program is featuring 65 plus entrepreneurs that specialties range from Facebook ads, Pinterest, personal branding, podcast guesting, and so much more. You will actually see some other familiar faces, as my good friend May Kay Sang is actually in the program as well. But here's the deal. This offer only lasts until July 25th. At midnight. So if you're listening to this podcast at a later date, sorry, you've missed out on your chance to grab this. But if you're an online entrepreneur, this is a must-have. It's a super affordable program that you can get your hands on so many different topics and different expertise that you cannot find anywhere else. It's only $47, you guys. Like, if you've heard me talk about this, I'm super cheap. And I love to find a great deal. And this is one. I participated last year and I took a course that helped me kickstart my YouTube journey. So if you've been looking for other tips on how to get your website going or get started with Facebook ads or just improve your overall online business, BC Stack 2020 is the way to go. So for more information, go to crystalprofit.com/BC 2020. Again, that's crystalprofit.com/BC 2020. And like I said, don't wait because this offer expires on July 25th at midnight. So there was this segment that I started a while ago. Maybe it was in January of this year. I don't know. Doesn't January feel like it was 7 years ago? No, just me. Is that anybody else? No, 2020 has just been the wackiest year of them all. So I cannot even remember when I actually started this, but the segment was questions from the community. And I feel like we've still kind of sprinkled it in, right? It hasn't officially been, this is questions from the community. I think that I normally call it, this is a question I saw online somewhere. So maybe all of this, just totally ignore everything that I just said. Okay. Let's just talk about a question that I recently saw that I think you will find super valuable, because it's all about how often you should publish your podcast. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Crystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of podcasting, think of this show as the time-saving shortcut you've been looking for. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, so like we talked about in the beginning, well, I guess I told you to forget it. So let's just go back to me saying I saw an awesome question in a podcast community that I think is super helpful for those of you that are still trying to figure out how often you want to publish your podcast, whether it is a matter of you're trying to figure out what works best for you, like you've already started and you're like testing the waters, trying to see, do I want to do it this? Do I want to do it that way? How do I really want to do it? Or if you have not launched yet and you're still trying to consider all of your options, right? Like those are really the two camps. Or if you have been doing it one way for a while and you're just like, I think I want to switch it up. I think I want to change things up, then this episode is for you too. So the actual question is, how often, and I'm assuming this is a brand new podcaster, right? How often do you post a new episode? Daily, weekly, etc., and why? I appreciate the feedback. So this was a great question, and there were so many different answers. And instead of reading you all of the other answers first, I thought I would give you a little bit of context here as to why someone would ask this question in the first place, right? Because I think that whenever someone, like, let's just imagine for a second that you are at home, you're sitting at your kitchen table, maybe you're, eating some graham crackers and milk. Like that's what we like to eat after dinner, like graham crackers and milk. I actually prefer graham crackers and peanut butter. Ooh, and a little peanut butter with syrup with graham crackers dipped in. I know it's a weird thing. It's something my mom always did when we were growing up. It was peanut butter and syrup, and then she would dip saltine crackers in them. It's delicious if you've never tried it, but we're going to pretend that you're just hanging out. Maybe you're just drinking some coffee, eating a little snack or something. I walk into your house and I knock. First of all, I'm not an intruder. I'm not just going to bust into your house, but you invite me in, or someone else invites me in, because I want you to really I'm totally screwing up this. Absolutely. But just go with it. Someone answers the door. Someone else answers the door because you are still sitting at your table, your kitchen table, not in your office. You're not in your bedroom. You're not running around frantically. Like, I want you to imagine yourself in a peaceful state of mind. Maybe you're daydreaming about what your amazing podcast could be, right? And I walk up to you with a mask on. Okay, guys, let's just be real about this. I still got mask on, okay? And let's just imagine I have a full-blown hazmat suit on at this point, okay? As of me recording this, we're still in the middle of a pandemic, okay? So if I'm coming to your house, I'm going to be in a hazmat suit, okay? This is just going terribly. We're just going to keep going with it. So I hand you a box. And inside of this box is a podcast. It is the perfect podcast. And you open it and you look at it and you say, but Crystal, this isn't my podcast. This is a perfect podcast. The definition of, this fits into all of the boxes. Like you checked, oh, it's got fancy artwork and it's got great music and the production and like all the it looks so fantastic. But then you say, but this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work for my schedule. I have 4 kids at home. I have, a dog that barks all the time. I have a train that constantly comes past my house at a certain time every single day. We have lawn guys that come next door every Tuesday at 11 a.m. So if I'm not done recording by that time, this podcast will not work for me. Okay? The reason why I'm telling you all this is because what works for someone else may not work for you. And that is overwhelming whenever I tell some people you can literally make up whatever rules you want to about your podcast. If you've been waiting for permission or someone to tell you that, here it is. I am telling you, there are no rules when it comes to podcasting, which is kind of funny because as that comes out of my mouth, I'm like, ooh, that's a slippery slope, right? Like we should be careful. We shouldn't just tell everybody that they can actually do what they want. But you can. You can do whatever works for you. I have changed my podcast, the Profit Podcast, the Potty Report, my YouTube channel, my email list, my Instagram, my Facebook, everything. I have done it the way that I wanted to do it. And I'm sure there's probably 1,000 people that would come to my door and say, Crystal, you're doing this wrong. Crystal, did you know that you're not supposed to be recording your podcast with your feet propped up on an office chair while you sit in the floor in your kid's gaming chair in your media room? Did you know that's actually not supposed to be how it's done? Well, guess what? That is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm recording this podcast in the media room, in my kid's gaming chair, with my feet propped up in an office chair. For what reason? Because I can. Because there are no rules. You guys, there are no rules. So I know that was like a long monologue, a long speech about rules with podcasting, but I really, really want you to consider this. You can do whatever you want with your podcast. So I'm just going to go back to how often do you post your podcast? Okay. This is the question that was posed. I just want you to know there's no right or wrong answer here. However, if you are doing it less than once a week, I'm going to challenge you. I was going to say encourage you. I'm going to challenge you to post at least one episode every single week. There's a reason behind this. There is actually psychological reasons behind this, and it is habit. It is the simple fact that there are 7 days in a week, and of those 7 days, you have the ability to form different habits. And I want your podcast to be part of someone's weekly habit. So whether it is whenever I would go to the gym, right? Back in the day, I feel like an old grandma now. Back in the day when we used to be able to go to the YMCA and work out in a gym. I know that the gyms are open. I just can't take my kids there, so I don't work out at the YMCA right now. But I would look forward to every Wednesday. It wasn't every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That was when I typically went to the gym. It wasn't every time I went to the gym. It was every Wednesday when I went to the gym, a brand new episode of The Office Ladies was out. And y'all know this. If you've listened to this podcast, you've watched me on YouTube, you've been on my email list, you know that is my favorite podcast. I absolutely love The Office Ladies podcast. It's my number one. I've done a podcast episode about it. You can go check out the show notes and see for yourself. I did a case study on when they launched their podcast. I'm obsessed with this podcast. But the reason why I know that these episodes, I would so look forward to seeing them every single Wednesday is because they came out at the same time every single week. I actually think they come out on Tuesdays, but I don't listen to them until Wednesday because I have certain times. Again, going back to my habits, I only listen to podcasts on certain days, during certain times, or when I'm doing certain tasks around my house. And that is the kind of ingrained habits that I want you to get your listeners, I want you to train your listeners to be excited to listen to your podcast when it comes out. And my friends, you cannot do that if you are only publishing a podcast once a month, right? That's like, I thought about this the other day. I don't really know my dentist super well. Okay. Like granted, I haven't been going to her for like years and years. We've lived here for 2 years. I've probably seen her 6 times in the last 2 years. So it's like, I don't really have the option to go. I don't see her every week, right? I don't have the opportunity to sit down and chat with her every Tuesday. So I don't know her super well because I see her like once a quarter. So I see her roughly 4 times a year.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
But if you release your podcast once a month or once a quarter, that's how your audience is going to feel about you. They're going to say, well, really, we don't really know her. We don't really know what he's all about because we don't know enough about him. However, if you had your mailman, right? Let's go back to the days of whenever a mailman used to actually come to your house and deliver stuff, not be that person that's like annoying. Oh my gosh, a little rant real fast. The mail person in our neighborhood is always like, the truck is always too far just scoot over just another inch, please. So I can just pass. Okay, I'm not going to get into it. It's the whole thing. It's like, Crystal, air out your dirty laundry with the mailman somewhere else, but just scoot over just a little bit more. Come on, just pull that truck, that white truck, just over just a little bit so people can pass you while you're filling up the mailboxes. Okay? Anyway, rant over. But I want someone to be so used to hearing your voice that they get excited when they're going to the gym or they're going to go take their dog on a walk. And they're like, oh, there's going to be a brand new episode. I can't wait. I'm going to get my earbuds. I'm going to put them in. Or, God bless you, people that talk to single moms that are folding their laundry. They have been working their butts off all day and they have all these kids everywhere that they have to feed and they got to do the laundry. And they're just like, I am exhausted. But they look forward to that 20, 30 minutes that your podcast gives them hope, or it gives them motivation or inspiration to do that one thing that is like the light at the end of the tunnel for them, right? Maybe they're just making ends meet. Maybe they're on the verge of maybe they're going to lose their job because of everything that's been going on in the world, and they're nervous and they're overwhelmed and they just are exhausted. They're so exhausted, but they sit down to fold their kids' clothes and they put their earbuds in and they hear your podcast. Maybe you make them laugh and that's all that they needed. Maybe you just give them a shred of hope and motivation for them to wake up tomorrow and do everything all over again. This is what I want you to do. I want you to think about how can you ingrain and train your listeners to work you into their weekly habits of what they do in their everyday life. So that's my whole rant on why I think that at minimum, you should have a weekly podcast. But from this post, I do want to read a little bit of the feedback that some other people shared in how often they post and why. So somebody said, I have 2 podcasts. One is weekly. That is just for consistency, and it's just good pace. I have another one, which is an NFL pod. So they do it by seasons, which I think is pretty cool. So if you have explored seasons, I'm actually going to link to, I have a YouTube video that's really good about this, that explores, like, should you have seasons for your podcast and why? So if you're interested in that, somebody said, I release weekly. And I think that that's fantastic. Somebody says bi-weekly because that's what their co-host can handle at the moment. And they said that they don't want to burn out. But I think that, again, you should try to shoot for weekly. If your co-host isn't able to be there with you, then maybe explore the option of doing one with your co-host, going solo for one, and then doing another one with your co-host, and then going solo. I guess that's something. I've never had a co-host on my show, but maybe that's something you would have to talk about what that would look like. You don't want to pull focus away from the two of you. But again, if you can do a weekly show, I'm going to encourage you to do that. Somebody says twice a week, I'm trying to build my episodes so that they're bingeable. This is fantastic because, and that's actually one of the reasons why I created this podcast. I rebranded it the way that I did because I wanted to have more episodes and more touch points for people to be able to hear from me on a regular basis instead of just once a week. And it's what I felt like I needed to do for my podcast. And I do understand it is a lot. I had already been podcasting for an entire year before I moved to having 2 episodes a week. So it's not something that I want you to consider if you're just starting. Now, if you have short episodes, maybe, but I really want to see you just getting to the consistent level of every single week before you add anything else to your plate. Don't add anything else. Nothing. Not a bonus episode, not anything else. If you are still sporadic in how often you publish your episodes. Consistency. And I think that everyone should start at a minimum of once per week. Okay, so then I'm seeing some people posted the days that they put their stuff out. So I post on Mondays, every Friday morning, weekly on Mondays, weekly. Somebody said every 2 weeks. Again, y'all should know how I feel about that by now. I want to see you doing every single week. And then somebody says it just depends. No. The coach inside of me is going to tell you, no, that's not cool. It's not acceptable. And I know there's going to be a million reasons why, right? You're going to say, yeah, but I got too busy. I got, the kids got sick. This happened, that happened. I get it. Life does come up. However, I believe that if you put your podcast and the content that you're creating at the forefront of your priorities, I'm not saying put your podcast above your family, you guys. I'm absolutely not saying that. But I am saying I bet that you caught a good Netflix show and I bet that you scrolled on Instagram for 45 minutes when you could have recorded your podcast. And I bet you wasted an hour in a Facebook group looking for something. Then you were like, wait, what was I actually doing? And what about that YouTube video that you watched? Yeah, educational purposes. Right. I'm nodding along with you because I do not believe you. No, you are making excuses. You have time. Record your podcast. And if you need pointers on how to make it easier, I'm going to link to a few episodes that will make your life easier when it comes to batching your podcast and just getting in, get scrappy, get it done, just make it happen. Okay? No more excuses, you guys. And I feel like I have to show up and give you this tough love because I'm seeing this more often. I don't know if it's the pandemic. I don't know if it's because it's summertime and people are just like, I just don't even know what to do, so I'm not going to do it. No one's going to miss me. Nope. That is an excuse, and you do not get to come here and share that with me. I'm going to tell you, and this reminds me, shout out Coach Kirksey. You will probably never hear this, but maybe I'll take a clip of it and send it to you. But she was hard on me. She was my hard coach that always pushed me. And I will never forget, she said to me one day, we were all working out. She didn't just say it to me. It was like the collective group of us, our team. She was pushing us to run a mile. And everybody was cussing her internally, of course. We would never say anything like this to her face. And she knows that. She knows that we were not happy about it. But she kept pushing us no matter what. Like, no matter how much we complained and moaned and groaned about everything, she kept pushing us. And I believe she made us better people, better athletes, and stronger mentally because she kept pushing us. And that is what I want to be for you. I don't want to be the one that says, oh, that's fine. It's okay. I understand. You were tired. I get it. You couldn't do it this week. I understand. Nope. You're not going to find that here. I'm going to continuously tell you, if you commit to creating this podcast, you need to do it once a week. I don't care if that means a 5-minute episode every single week. That's still once a week, right? 5 minutes is better than no minutes a week. So I want to see you, once you've committed to going on this podcast journey, keep going. Keep going, right? Is that not the motto around here? Keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. And if that somewhere means 5-minute podcast episodes every single week for 6 months, then that is your somewhere. That is where you are starting. That is ground zero for you, and you have nowhere to go but up from here. Oh my gosh, y'all, this has been a rant. This has been an episode that I felt like I've been meaning to record because I feel like I'm going hoarse. I've been doing a lot of recording today, so this is going to be my last one for today, but I just felt like I needed to come here and shatter the excuses of so many people thinking that it's fine. Like, it's okay if I don't publish. You guys, publish a 5-minute episode every week until you get your shiitake figured out. If you're going to go on this journey, go on this journey. Don't be halfway in, halfway out. I'm going to show up when I can. I'm going to try to do this. Either, and I don't do a lot of cussing on this podcast, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I need you to shit or get off the pot. Okay? Like, that is just the best metaphor that I can come up with. And that this Texas girl, like, I've just had it in my brain over and over again. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. And like I said, there are no rules. There are no rules. I'm not telling you exactly how you have to do it. I'm just saying you got to do it. If you're going to do it, if you're going to show up and say, I'm a podcaster, then you got to do it. You got to do it. But that's all I have for you today, guys. So let me know what you thought about this episode, whether you loved it or you hated it. I would love to know, because this is just what I felt was on my heart today to share with you. I had something completely different planned, but I felt like I needed to bring this to you today because I have a feeling there's a good chunk of you out there that needed to hear this message and needed to have that motivation to get back on the bandwagon and start going again. Even if it's at a snail's pace, even if it's, like I said, those 5-minute episodes a week for 6 months until you get your bearings and you know what's going on. I just want to see you keep creating consistently. But that's all I have for you today. So check out the show notes, and I'm going to link to all the episodes that I talked about today and ones that I think will be super helpful, as well as some YouTube videos. So go to crystalprofit.com/episode 171 to check out all the show notes for this episode. And remember, keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message, because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you, and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, "Send Crystal a text message." And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, "Send Crystal a text message." And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.